Thank you so much, Marilise, and it's so beautiful to be surrounded by these phenomenal women. And every time I'm around phenomenal women, it just makes me look at my life and go, what else? What's next? And I love being inspired like that. So thank you, and Gertrude, thank you for being the leadership and the leader of all of this, and introducing me to these wonderful women that I've seen before, like Karen and Jerry and Ruth. And Kelly. It's a wonderful. It really, really is. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So, for as long as I could remember, I wished to be a star. The other day I spoke from the perspective of being a woman, but I just thought, actually today let's speak about what the artist's story would have been. So, and I sang before I was born, I think. It was a way of protecting my innocence. The heart is the first organ to be born. And along the pathway, I think it's the heart is really fully formed by day 22. And along the pathway of my life, I learned that my heart was soft, fragile, and sometimes fearless. I was under no illusion, though. Most of my life was driven by fear. My mum used to sing in a band, and I remember she wouldn't be able to get to rehearsals, sometimes because my stepdad didn't get home on time or there was no one to look after us. I began to recognise that being an artist was not for the faint-hearted. I used my voice to say the things I was unable to express in a day-to-day experience. I learned that talent was the old word for money. So why were we all of us brought up to believe that we could not be successful or make money from our talents? I was led to believe that my dreams of being a star were not for someone like me, and that it was all a daydream, and I should make myself more stable by going to work in an office or marry someone rich. Well, I did both, and neither made me happy. They were based on projections of what I would, or what I thought was expected of me within it, and really they were just masks for the people that were afraid to live. No one ever knows what goes on behind closed doors. I became a shell of myself, and my constant need for validation in order to be accepted stemmed from my own insecurity for not showing up fully for my dreams. When I fell in love, I would absolutely fall. Just like in the operas, nothing in the world would matter except for that person. Their whole lives would be my life, and I would lift them up and celebrate them while breaking my own boundaries, moving my own goalposts, and feeling guilty and apologetic about the power of the woman that lay dormant within me. I resented it, and I would get angry at myself for accepting this standard within myself. I had been homeless and got back up. I had been a drunk and got back up. I had been raped, bullied, and abandoned, and still I got back up. I had abandoned myself so much that I recognised that along my journey, I would need to invite therapeutic work into my life. It first started with the self-help book, the first one being Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, sent to me by my mum at the age of 25. Game changer. I learned about NLP anchors, changing my state. I learned about excellence, role modelling, and disruptive patterning. I was at home in this work. I used it to reframe and rebuild my life. And I was happy, but I wasn't alive. Getting sober was one of the biggest moments of my life. I did the first year in a relationship, and they tell you when you get sober, don't get sober and get in a relationship, as it could jeopardize your recovery. Well, that was me. Within a year, we had broken up. I had gone back drinking. My birthday is on St. Patrick's Day, and I lived in Ireland, so I will leave you to fill in the rest. However, going back out was not pretty. I ended up on the streets, homeless, reckless, and chaotic. I landed back in London with no money, nowhere to live, and a well of self-pity. I needed help. This time I would choose to get sober for me. My life depended on it. During this time, I reconnected with the writer, artist, and singer in me. She had a whole world to share, and I was locking her away. She deserved more, but I also knew that my projection on the world was that everyone knew more about me than me. Another form of abandoning myself. It took a good, solid 5 years of recovery, treatment centres, psychotherapy, Hoffman, and group therapy to get me to a place where I could begin to express myself again through the gifts I was given. I began to question, what would it be like to be an opera singer? My teacher at secondary school had played me the Queen of the Night's aria from the Magic Flute by Mozart and had said, you could sing like that one day. The seed had been planted. I had no idea that one day, while working in my corporate job on a trading floor in the city, that just before a huge promotion, my boss would ask, Nadine, is there anything else you wish to do? You are still young. We have no choice but to stay, but you do. I told him I'd always wished to know if I could sing. He said, go. I'm going to leave your job open for 2 months. Go and see if you can do it. I never went back. Within 2 weeks, I'd found myself a job in Carmen Jones at the Royal Festival Hall. Then I had found myself a role at the Opera de Lyon in France, in Porgy and Bess. And then I knew things had to get serious. A teacher at evening college said I needed to find myself a sponsor. So I wrote 150 letters to companies and individuals, and one woman said yes. She sponsored me for 3 years, and I made my own school and got private sessions with people I knew could support me. However, the saboteur in me was still very much on the loose, and I felt like an imposter. You see, I hadn't been accepted into any of the colleges, and I was telling myself the story that because of this completely invalidated my experience in the University of Life and Common Sense. I went back into therapy to course correct and realised that if I didn't take charge of my destiny, I would be living someone else's agenda that had been placed on me. So I decided in that moment what kind of artist I would be. And within 6 months, I was featured in the Opera magazine as one of the top sopranos of our time. I now know that if I could, then everybody could. And I got excited. I set up a mentoring company called Everybody Can to share with people what I had learnt. And if my experience could support, I would be happy to help. I then went back to the land of NLP and trained as an NLP mind coach and then a certified high performance coach. Both were based around excellence and habits that could sustain these practices. I now realise that I take people from self-sabotage to self-mastery through a high performance mentoring lens, and I love it. We work on getting clear, having and sustaining a vibrant energy, being productive, which also means rest and restore. We work on courage and getting a purpose on purpose. This last year has been really challenging for me. I've had COVID. I've been on chemotherapy for the last year. I lost all of my income that I could get from my singing. And I got into debt for the first time in 17 years so I could pay for the medical things that would not be available to me any other way. And still, I celebrate every day that I wake with breath in my lungs and a spring in my step. Instead of asking what is wrong, I asked what is right. And the day after lockdown, I got online and I started teaching the principles I had learnt from my 20 years of personal development. Within 2 weeks, I knew it was bigger than me and started interviewing people from all walks of life so we could connect, champion and celebrate others while safe at home. I have done over 100 episodes. I didn't worry about not singing. I realised that I needed to concentrate on being of service, and the universe would send me the odd singing job to remind me that I am of service in that way too. I now have a full diary for 2021, and part of that will be building my own show called Beam about trauma and the way music can heal with that. It has its premiere in Snape in Aldeburgh on June the 26th of this year. I now run 90-day individual and group coaching programs to take people from self-sabotage to self-mastery. And in lockdown, I found a partner and will be getting married next year. The artist within me never left. She just grew stronger from the many life experiences that I have faced. And today I am so grateful for my life. In 2018, I made history by being the first black soprano to have an operatic album ever in the UK. This album was called Love and Prayer. I recognise that my voice is here for healing in whichever form it takes, and it is 100% my responsibility to share the gift that the divine gave to me. I am the only one with the message in the way it has been downloaded to me. We all have a message. We all have a voice. Please don't leave this world without sharing your message with us. Your story matters. Thank you.